Reborn in 1977 on a blizzard night, 40 degrees below zero. In my previous life, my father froze to death in the snow, shielding me beneath him until his last breath. In this life, I slaughtered a pig, stockpiled food, and seized the broadcast 3 hours early. The whole village called me crazy. 3 days later, the snow stopped. Every household in the village was draped in mourning white, except for my Luo Yunchuan's home, where the aroma of stewed meat wafted out. Those who had cursed me came with bowls in hand. Opening my eyes, I saw an old wooden table and mottled earthen walls, with windproof sedge stuffed into the cracks. I sat up abruptly, my head buzzing. This is my home? No, this is home 40 years ago. A rat jumped over the sewing basket, scattering needles and thread everywhere. That's it. Every hair on my body stood on end. In my previous life, it was on this day that rats scurried around in broad daylight, and then that blizzard. I threw open the door curtain, and the cold wind cut like a knife against my face. The sky was pressed with leaden gray clouds, thick as if about to fall. In the yard, my father Lu Ligan was chopping firewood with a pipe in his mouth, making a thudding sound. "Dongzi, what's wrong?" My eldest brother Lu Yaozu, seeing my expression, came over and asked. I looked at my brother, my nose stinging. In my previous life, I was a scumbag. My father died buried in snow trying to save me, and my brother's youngest son froze to death. Later, I ran away burdened with gambling debts, and my brother drained the family fortune to pay them off. He went up the mountain to hunt game and was killed by wolves. My sister-in-law disappeared with the children. I died alone and old in the army. Now, heaven has given me a chance to live again. No one will touch my family. Brother, what's the date today? October 18th. Did you sleep yourself silly? October 18th, 1977. That's right, tonight. I shouted into the yard, "Dad, stop chopping firewood." My father was so startled that his pipe fell to the ground. He picked it up and cursed. "You little brat, are your itches acting up? Dad, a heavy blizzard is coming tonight. I just saw rats scurrying in broad daylight and weasels sneaking into the pig pen. The clouds in the sky are also off. This is a major disaster." My sister-in-law Chen Xiaolian came out of the house, her face long. "Dongzi, you can't say such things." I knew she looked down on me. In my previous life, I was lazy, gluttonous, and gambled. The whole family scrimped and saved to support my schooling, and I spent money on picture books. Anyone would be annoyed. But now is not the time to explain. Sister-in-law, no matter how reckless I've been, I wouldn't joke about this. Dad, reinforce the house, slaughter the pig, and stock up on food. You all do these things first. If it doesn't snow, you can punish me however you want later. Dad stared at me for 3 seconds, then tucked his pipe into his waistband. Eldest, reinforce the house. Xiaolian, take the kids and boil water. Slaughter the pig. My sister-in-law was unhappy but didn't dare defy Dad. She shot me a fierce glare. I had no time to care. I sprinted to the brigade. The broadcast room was locked. When the broadcaster heard I wanted to use the loudspeaker to issue a blizzard warning, he nearly jumped. "Lu Yaodong, are you crazy? That's spreading rumors. You'll end up in jail." I grabbed him by the collar and lifted him straight up. I just realized that after rebirth, my strength is even greater than when I was a soldier in my previous life. My father's voice came from behind. "Let him in. If anything happens, my Lu family will take responsibility." I rushed in, grabbed the microphone, and shouted, "Fellow villagers, I am Lu Yaodong. A heavy blizzard is coming tonight. Reinforce your houses quickly and stock up on food." I repeat. The village erupted. My cousin Lu Quan was busy with his wife on the Kong. The loudspeaker scared him so much he went limp. He ran out bare-chested and cursed. "Lu Yaodong, you damn fool. What are you yelling about? Heavy blizzard. Why don't you say the sky is falling?" A few neighbors laughed. "Quanzi, did you just start and then stall? Did your wife beat you?" Someone shook their head. "That Lu Yaodong kid has never been serious. Now he's even spreading such rumors. He's asking for trouble." Some people heeded the warning and began reinforcing their houses. I didn't care about that. Coming out of the broadcast room, I ran into the brigade leader Li Taizhu. My father patted my shoulder. "You go back first. I'll handle this." I sprinted home. By the time I arrived, the water was already boiling. My niece Lu Dia and nephew Lu Ermao were hopping around the yard. "Uncle, are we eating meat today?" Looking at the two children's gaunt faces, I felt a pang in my heart. The whole family supported my schooling, and the kids couldn't even get enough corn porridge. "Go inside." I moved the table, put on an apron, heated the knife, then single-handedly dragged the 100-plus-pound pig from the pen and pinned it on the table. My sister-in-law was stunned. The pig was kicking and struggling, but I held it down with one hand. With one slash, the The pig's blood gushed into an enamel basin. The two kids peeked through the door crack. Dia covering her brother's eyes, Ermao prying at his sister's fingers, getting a flick on the head each time. I had no time to handle it slowly. I swung the axe and chopped the pig like firewood. Sister-in-law, you handle the innards. I'll help my brother reinforce the house. While busy, my father returned and slapped the back of my head. I've smoothed things over with the captain, but this matter needs to be reported. Give me the truth. Is this blizzard certain or not? Of course it is. I'm not tired of living and want to go to jail, I said while driving wooden stakes into the ground. I'm the only one in the village who went to high school. Animals are more perceptive than humans, and those clouds aren't normal. My father got annoyed by my bookish words and kicked me in the butt. Enough, stop blabbering. Your sister-in-law has prepared the meat. I hoisted half a pig's side, pocketed some food coupons, and ran out. A few village elders and aunties were surrounding my father, asking whether to believe it or not. My father glared. My son is staking his life on it. Believe it or not. That aura, a veteran from the battlefield, was truly something. Everyone fell silent. Running out of the village, I ran into Chun Dayo and Chun Jiangwo. Chun Dayo was my gambling buddy from my previous life, who later set me up to cheat me of money. Chun Jiangwo was his cousin, honest and simple, and always had a good relationship with me. Jiangwo, go back quickly and reinforce your house and stock up on food. It's too late. Okay, I'm going. Chun Jiangwo turned and ran. Chun Dayo sneered. Are you brainless? You believe what he says? I ignored him. Chun Dayo's leg would break in this snowstorm. None of my business. The mountain road was rugged, but I ran fast carrying over 100 pounds. The supplies at the town supply cooperative were running low. I sold the pork for money and bought dozens of pounds of cornmeal, salt, matches, kerosene, and 2 packs of paracetamol. By the time I got home, it was already dark, with crimson sunset clouds burning on the horizon. My sister-in-law served the corn porridge. Seeing how much I had bought, she winced with heartache. Just those 2 packs of medicine cost 4 yuan, and half a pig sold for only 25 in total. Sister-in-law, this medicine can save lives at critical moments. Sam Mao is only a little over 1 year old. If he gets a fever, the medicine at the village clinic won't be enough for everyone. I gave her half of the medicine to keep. My father sucked on his pipe and asked, why buy so much cornmeal? Many in the village are relatives or acquaintances. I made such a big fuss buying things today. If someone comes begging later, we can't just watch them die. My father didn't say anything, which was tacit approval. As we spoke, a sudden thunderclap sounded outside. My heart tightened. Thunder in a snowstorm. The door curtain was swept up by the fierce wind, and goose-feather snowflakes hit my face. The ground in the yard turned white in an instant, visibility less than 3 meters. The village loudspeaker crackled to life, Li Tieju's voice trembling. Attention all households. The blizzard is here. Reinforce your houses quickly. I repeat. He had ridden his bike to the county to report today, but the county phone line was down. By the time he got back, it was too late. The whole village was in chaos. Lu Quan had just crawled out of bed when his wife slapped him. What are you standing there for? Get moving. Why didn't Li Taiju broadcast when Lu Yaodong said it earlier? Now it's too late. Lu Quan had his pants on backwards and stumbled as soon as he stepped outside. His neighbors were all in disarray. Some were carrying logs to prop up the roof beams. Some were crying and cursing themselves. I just chopped up the big log this morning. The old man who had shaken his head in disbelief earlier sat down on the ground, pounding his forehead. Should have listened to that little brat. My father looked at the white expanse outside, nearly dropping his pipe again. Thunder in a snowstorm. People eat iron. This winter will be tough. I had sealed the windows with thick cloth, leaving only a small ventilation hole. Big brother is always reliable, so the house should hold. But I still dare not be careless. The tragic scene from my past life is etched into my bones. Under the kerosene lamp, the whole family gathered around the edge of the Kong. Coarse corn porridge with cornbread, rough on the throat. Ermao licked the edge of his bowl, while Dia broke her own cornbread in half and stuffed it into her brother's hand. The eldest sister-in-law wrapped little San Mao in her arms. The little one was just over a year old, sleeping soundly. Outside, the wind banged against the door panels, and snow pellets rustled against the window paper. I put away the remaining cornmeal and salt, and checked the support beams on the roof again before sitting down. A low wall was built in the middle of the heated Kong. Usually, my father and I slept on one side to save firewood. I looked at my family and took a deep breath. Dad, I think we should all sleep in this room tonight. My big brother and I will take turns keeping watch. Lu Ligan put down his bowl and nodded. All right, let your sister-in-law and the kids sleep on that side. We'll rough it tonight. Chun Xiaoyan responded, wiped Lu Ermao's mouth, and then called the two children to wash up and get on the Kong. Lu Yaodong took out the purchased grain and daily necessities one by one, with Lu Ermao's voice constantly in his ears. Sis, it's still early, let's play for a while. Usually, after eating, the two kids would play mud bombs or spinning tops. It had become a habit. Now they went straight to the Kong after eating, making Lu Ermao feel restless all over. Lu Dia couldn't be bothered with him. Play what? It's freezing cold, behave yourself. Lu Ermao pouted, teasing Sanmao for a while, then asking Qin Xiaoyan when they could eat that half side of pork. This annoyed Lu Dia, and she gave him a knock on the head. All you know is eating. If you eat it now, how will we hand over the meat to the commune later? I'm craving it. Lu Dia glared. Say that again, and I'll smack you. Ermao immediately shut up at that, covering his head and not daring to make a sound. Hearing this, Lu Yaodong's gaze unconsciously drifted to the old hunting rifle hanging on the wall. The two kids are still growing, and Sanmao even more so. It's hard to get by on just this bland food. Lu Yaodong calculated in his mind that he needed to find time to go up the mountain and get some game. What are you looking at? Lu Ligan tapped him with his tobacco pipe. Dad, can we talk without using hands? Lu Yaodong stepped back 2 paces. Nonsense. I'm your father. Lu Ligan glared. Let me tell you, don't even think about going up the mountain. If I find out, I'll break your legs. Lu Yaodong then realized why he got hit. Looks like I'll have to be more careful in the future. With his father's experience, he had long developed the instinct to keep his eyes and ears open. It was already hard enough to get away with the lie about today's blizzard. If he stirred up more trouble, his father might discover something off. How could that be? You go to sleep quickly. Lu Yaodong laughed it off. Lu Ligan shot him a glare and then crawled into the bedding. Once the eldest brother and sister-in-law were on the Kong, Lu Yaodong blew out the kerosene lamp. The room was pitch black. Chun Xiaoyan gently patted Sanmao's back to lull him to sleep. Lu Ermao, who hadn't played much during the day, couldn't fall asleep. After a while, he called out to everyone. Sis, are you cold? Dad, tell me a story. Grandpa, were you really a sniper back then? Lu Dia got annoyed. Can you shut up? Are your bones itching? I'm bored, sis. Last time you heard about Wu Song fighting the tiger, can you tell me again? I've told it 800 times. You can recite it by heart. What else is there to say? Lu Dia didn't want to bother with him. Turned over to sleep. But Lu Ermao felt like a cat was scratching his heart and insisted on pestering her. Entertainment in this era was nothing like later times. The whole village had only one radio, in the team leader's office. Kids are playful and rarely encountered anything novel. So even though Lu Ermao could recite Wu Song fighting the tiger backwards, he still pestered his sister to tell it. Ermao, let me tell you the story of Zhu Beiji carrying his wife. Lu Yaodong knew he had been a jerk before, and it would be too difficult to change his family's perception all at once. The best way was to start with these small things. Children are pure-hearted and don't ask for much. With appropriate companionship and play, they will remember your kindness. Great, uncle. I also want to hear about Sun Wukong causing havoc in heaven. Lu Ermao perked up at that. Lu Yaodong chuckled. Haha, okay, today I'll start from the birth of the Monkey King. Great, great. Lu Ermao was so happy he almost jumped up. Lu Dia glared at her brother, her expression a bit strange. Qin Xiaoyan was also stunned and lifted her head. Lu Yaodong had never been this close to her kids before, but it was too dark inside, and Lu Yaodong, wanting to avoid suspicion, stood behind the wall, so he didn't see their expressions at all. Lu Ligan shook the bedding. The family had 3 generations living together, but his second son had always been distant from the family, which bothered him. Now this little brat was actually taking the initiative to entertain his grandson, which surprised him. Lu Yaodong continued, from Sun Wukong's birth to being crushed under the 5 elements mountain by the Tathagata Buddha. Taking a moment to drink water, Lu Ermao asked impatiently, Uncle, don't stop, what's next? Lu Dia lay nearby, silent, but listening intently. Lu Yaozu lay on the other side, a smile curling at the corner of his mouth. His younger brother was finally acting like an uncle. Don't rush, let your uncle drink some water. Lu Yaodong moistened his throat with water and continued until Tang Sanzang put the tight band on the monkey. Just as he was about to go on, Lu Ermao's steady breathing could be heard. He carefully pulled Lu Ermao's blanket up a bit, which made Lu Dia look as if she'd seen a ghost. The wind outside still howled loudly, and there was no clock in the room. No one knew how much time had passed. Lu Yaozu tiptoed out of bed and whispered, Second brother, go to sleep. I'll take the watch for the second half of the night. It's okay, big brother, you sleep a bit more. Although Lu Yaodong had walked all day, With his enhanced body, he didn't feel tired at all. As the brothers were whispering, a violent banging on the courtyard door suddenly sounded outside. And faintly, someone could be heard crying. Everyone in the room was woken up, and Sanmao started crying in fear. What's going on? Lu Ligan, sensitive due to his early battlefield experience, sensed something wrong and jumped off the calm. The knocking and crying in the heavy snow night were eerie. Lu Ermao, startled awake, shivered, and instinctively moved closer to his sister. Lu Dia hugged him and gently patted his head. Lu Yaodong thought someone's house must have collapsed, and they were asking for help at the door. I'll go check. He tightened his clothes and rushed out of the room. The cold sensation as his legs plunged into the snow made him shiver. Due to the cold wind, the top layer of snow had frozen a bit, crunching underfoot. He didn't expect the snow to be knee-deep by now. Lu Yaodong swallowed. A blizzard of this magnitude would be too much for old earthen houses. He quickly waded through the snow to the door and pushed it open. Dongzi, save your brother-in-law. The house collapsed. Cousin Lu Aihua knelt half on the ground, holding a baby in her arms, crying with tears and snot streaming. Lu Yaodong's heart skipped a beat. In his past life, his own family was in such a mess that he hadn't paid attention to who exactly suffered in this snow disaster. Brother-in-law Zhang Qinghua was an educated youth from the city and had always been good to him. He couldn't ignore this. Inside, Lu Yaozu, upon hearing this, calmed his wife and children and ran out. Sis, it's too cold outside. Go inside first. I'll go check. Dongzi, I'm not going in. My man is buried under the house. Lu Yaozu immediately set off. Lu Yaodong grabbed his big brother. He could go, but he didn't want his brother to go. Someone needed to watch the house. Lu Yaozu wasn't stupid. He understood his concern. Dongzi, it's okay. You saw I propped up several beams on the roof and fixed every corner of the house. You can't rescue him alone. Let's go quickly. Lu Ligan came out and took the baby in his arms. Both of you go. Don't just stand here. Lu Yaodong thought for a moment. The tragedy of the previous life was mainly due to being caught off guard while asleep. Now that everyone is awake and the house is reinforced, there should be no problem. So he decisively nodded. Let's go? Lu Yaodong said and immediately ran out the door. Lu Aihua lived very close to them, but due to the heavy snowstorm and snow knee-deep, the three of them hurried along and still took a while. When Lu Yaodong arrived, he found that the two adobe houses had completely collapsed. Brother, hurry and find someone. Lu Yaodong shouted and rushed over. Seeing this, Lu Yaozu didn't dare delay, and quickly followed behind him. Sister, which room was my brother-in-law under when it collapsed? The east room. Lu Aihua cried as she pointed to the collapsed house. Without further ado, Lu Yaodong hurried to the collapsed adobe wall of the east room. The collapsed wall was already covered with snow. He quickly bent down and, together with Lu Yaozu, began to dig through the tiles and search. Seeing this, Lu Aihua also rushed over. But the snowstorm was so heavy that Lu Yaodong could barely open his eyes. Snowflakes as big as goose feathers kept getting into his collar and melting into icy water, the bone-chilling cold making him grit his teeth. Just as the three were searching desperately, Lu Yaodong suddenly heard a faint groan. Startled, he quickly ran to the source and frantically dug through the tiles. He's here. Seeing Zhang Qinghua's blood-covered face, Lu Yaodong shouted. The two heard the commotion and hurried over. After clearing away the debris on Zhang Qinghua, they found a broken beam pressing on him. Ahua, it's all my fault for not listening to Dongzi. Lu Aihua's heart ached as if bleeding. Today, Zhang Qinghua had left the village early and only heard the team leader shouting on the loudspeaker when he returned. By then, it was too late to do anything. She should have been the one crushed underneath, but Zhang Qinghua pushed her out, leading to the scene before them. Stop crying, Lu Yaodong shouted. At this moment, he couldn't afford to be gentle. He swung his arms and lifted the beam, throwing it aside. Zhang Qinghua was shivering from the cold, and the blood flowing from his head had turned into ice crystals. Lu Yaodong didn't dare delay and immediately carried him on his back. Brother, hurry back and boil water and boil some clean cloth. Okay. Hearing this, Lu Yaozu sprinted home. Lu Yaodong carried Zhang Qinghua and rushed home as fast as he could, with Lu Aihua sobbing and following behind him. He kicked the door open with a bang and carried Zhang Qinghua inside. Don't look. Seeing Zhang Qinghua's bloody head, Chun Xiaoyan was startled and quickly scolded the two children. Sanmao woke up at the sound and started crying loudly. Dia, soothe Sanmao and watch Ermao. Don't let him run around. Okay, Lu Dia responded, picked up Sanmao, patted his back gently, and used her body to block Ermao's view. Lu Yaodong placed Zhang Qinghua on the calm. Sister-in-law, you and my sister boil water, don't come over. Okay. Chun Xiaoyan replied, and took the fire tongs from Lu Yaozu. Lu Yaodong went outside, scooped up a handful of snow, and rubbed it on Zhang Qinghua's face and ears. He had been frozen for too long, so he had to use this method to relieve him first. Hiss. Zhang Qinghua shivered from the cold, making hissing sounds. Brother-in-law, bear with it, Lu Yaodong said as he discarded the excess snow. Dongzi, the cloth is boiled. Lu Yaozu stood at the door for a while, with a steaming basin of water to let it cool down. Then came over. Okay. Lu Yaodong wrung out several strips of cloth and wiped the bloodstains off Zhang Qinghua's head. Rural families didn't have medical conditions, let alone sanitary pads or medical alcohol. It wasn't just the cost, buying them was troublesome. For now, they could only use this method to disinfect the cloth and use it as gauze. Lu Yaodong threw the blood-soaked cloth into the basin, then took some plant ash from under the stove and applied it to the wound, before wrapping the wound with the boiled cloth. Brother-in-law, lie down and rest for a while. Ah, thank you, Dongzi. Zhang Qinghua replied with difficulty. Lu Yaodong comforted him a bit, then turned and met his father's gaze, startling him. The bandaging he had just done was an emergency method used in the military, done purely out of instinct without thinking much. Lu Yaodong pretended not to notice and walked away, inwardly figuring out how to explain this. Fortunately, Lu Ligan didn't intend to pursue it at this critical moment, which relieved him. Seeing that Zhang Qinghua's bleeding had stopped, Lu Aihua knelt down with a thud in front of Lu Yaodong. In this era, if the pillar of the family died, the widow and orphans would basically be finished. Dongzi, I used to look down on you, I'm sorry. Lu Aihua, in her grief, even started slapping herself hard. Lu Yaodong quickly stopped her. It's all my fault. Lu Aihua sat on the ground and wailed. Earlier that day, she had been complaining to her neighbor about how Lu Yaodong was hopeless. Now, the house had collapsed, and she had almost caused her husband's death. If Lu Yaodong hadn't come today, she dared not imagine how she would live in the future. Sister, the ground is cold, get up first. To be honest, Lu Yaodong's cousin was not only not a bad person, but was even very warm-hearted. Her only flaw was being a bit gossipy. He couldn't be bothered to dwell on such trivial matters. It was normal for people to talk about his former self. Lu Yaodong comforted her as he helped her onto the Kong. Sister, don't overthink it. I don't blame you. Brother-in-law's injury will heal in about a month, so don't worry. Lu Aihua wiped her tears. Dongzi, Lu Ligan rocked the baby in his arms. All right, Xiaobai, your father passed away early. I'm your uncle, and Yaozu and Dongzi are your family. If you have trouble, it's only right for us to help. Stop crying and scaring the child. Uncle Jin, sorry for the trouble. Zhang Qinghua said with difficulty from the Kong. No trouble at all. Ahua, rest well. At your uncle's place, feel free to stay. He handed the baby back to Lu Aihua. Lu Yaozu called his wife and 3 children to the east room. Lu Yaodong took his father back to his own room, leaving the space for Zhang Qinghua and his wife. But after the commotion in the middle of the night, he couldn't sleep anyway, so he took the winter snow-clearing tools and cleared the snow off the roof. Say, what's up with Dongzi? He's like a different person. Chun Xiaoyan looked at Lu Yaodong's figure and asked her husband in confusion. Why bother with that? Shouldn't we be happy that Dongzi has changed for the better? Don't treat my brother like that anymore. Lu Yaozu stuffed some corn stalks and went under the Kong. It's because your brother was such a jerk before. Chun Xiaoyan rolled her eyes at him, and seeing his displeasure, quickly added, Fine, I won't treat him like that anymore, okay? You. Lu Yaozu wanted to say more, but on second thought, his wife was right. Given his brother's past behavior, any sister-in-law would dislike such a brother-in-law. But now that his brother had become capable, even foreseeing the snow disaster, let's see which village woman dares to gossip anymore. All right, time to sleep. Seeing that the snow on the roof was gone and the house had been fine for half the night, Lu Yaozu confidently blew out the oil lamp and went to sleep. Meanwhile, Lu Yaodong, lying on the Kong, couldn't rest easy. He kept getting up every now and then to check around the room and peek through the door crack at his brother's room. Just as he was about to lie down again, Lu Ligan kicked him on the butt. He turned around and saw Lu Ligan sitting on the Kong with his pipe, staring at him intently. What? Aren't you going to explain to your old man? Dad, what do you mean? Lu Yaodong tried to laugh it off, but Lu Ligan wouldn't let him off. Hey, you're getting bold, trying to play riddles with your old man. Lu Ligan pointed his pipe at Lu Yaodong. Today, this kid was too unusual, so unusual that he didn't seem like his son. If it were an ordinary old man, he might have suspected that his son was possessed by a ghost. But having crawled through mountains of corpses and seas of blood, He naturally didn't believe in such superstitions. But he really couldn't figure out why a person could change so drastically in just one day. Besides, his daughter-in-law had said during the day that Luo Yunchuan had single-handedly killed the pig. With Luo Yunchuan's thin arms and legs, it would be a miracle if the family board didn't send him flying when it got fierce. There was no way he could have killed the pig alone. Coupled with that nimble technique just now, even the military doctors back then weren't that quick. After much thought, Lu Ligan couldn't sleep, so he decided to take advantage of the time alone with his son to get to the bottom of it. Spill it now. That strength of yours. Can you really kill a pig? And where did you learn that bandaging technique? I learned it from an old master when I was in school. Seeing the situation, Luo Yunchuan knew he couldn't avoid it today, so he could only talk nonsense. Bullshit. With your lousy attitude, which old master in the surrounding villages would be willing to teach you? What was your apprenticeship gift? The picture books under your bed? Still trying to fool me. Lu Ligan stood up and flipped open his quilt, revealing the picture books he used to love. Luo Yunchuan blushed and felt speechless. Once today is over, I'll burn these damn things. Lu Ligan glared and asked, what's really going on? It's true, the old master taught me. Luo Yunchuan spread his hands, looking like a dead pig unafraid of scalding water. His father was experienced and sharp-eyed. The only things that could fool him were things from books. Nothing else worked. But no matter what, he couldn't really tell the truth, so he just sat on the chair and kept silent. It's already like this, do whatever you want. I haven't been beaten in decades. At worst, I'll just relive my youth. Lu Ligan knew he was lying through his teeth, but there was nothing he could do about it, so he sat back down. Seeing no reaction for a while, Luo Yunchuan observed his father's expression and began to persuade him. Dad, I'm already this old. You can't keep controlling me forever. Lu Ligan's hand, reaching for tobacco in his pouch, paused, and his eyes widened. You mean I'm old and can't control you anymore, right? Luo Yunchuan clicked his tongue, feeling it too fake. He had originally wanted to use this opportunity to give his father a heads up, to loosen his grip a bit, so he could do things more conveniently later. Now, the old man had choked him speechless. Dad, you. All right, I won't say anything more. Just get some rest, okay? Lu Ligan snorted. Since he couldn't get anything out of him, he simply got into bed. Get lost, don't bother me while I sleep. Lu Ligan lay on the Kong, feeling annoyed. Damn it. A grown son is beyond his father's control. But after a while, he thought again. The son is grown. Why bother where he learned his skills? As long as he has skills, that's a good thing. Even if I tried to control him, I couldn't keep the little brat tied to my belt forever. Why worry myself sick over it? As long as he changes for the better, why bother with all that nonsense? Seeing the old man silent, Luo Yunchuan cautiously leaned over and asked, Dad, are you angry? Hearing the little brat speak, Lu Ligan's just calmed anger flared up again. Are you damn annoying? Do you want me to beat you? Luo Yunchuan was startled, and inwardly grumbled that the old man didn't appreciate his good intentions. He dared not say another word and lay obediently on the Kong, thinking about what to do next. In the short term, the family snow disaster was resolved, and the purchased sorghum and cornmeal were plenty, enough for the family to eat for a while. Now that his brother-in-law and sister had arrived, the collapsed house couldn't be rebuilt quickly, so they had to stay here for now. Luo Hua was his cousin, and Zhang Qinghua had helped him a lot in his previous life, even taking time to tutor him before exams. Now that they were in trouble, he had to help them out. But this era was different from later times, where food and heating weren't a concern. Having 2 extra mouths to feed and heat the Kong was no small matter. He roughly estimated that with the family's grain and remaining food stamps, even corn porridge wouldn't be enough to fill everyone's stomachs. And what was worse than hunger was that the severe winter had arrived early this year. In northeast China, if there wasn't enough firewood, people could really freeze to death. Luo Yunchuan pulled the quilt up higher and began to think of solutions. Digging up roots and stubble wouldn't work. Not only was the ground frozen solid, but even if he dug up something, it wouldn't be of much use. It wouldn't be enough to burn. That stuff wasn't as good as firewood or charcoal. For food and firewood, he still needed to go up the mountain as soon as possible. Although the problem was serious, Luo Yunchuan wasn't too worried. Given his skills, it wasn't hard to solve. Not to mention anything else. In this era when guns and hunting weren't banned, he could become a 10,000 yuan household in just 1 year by hunting in the mountains. But with the current restrictions, he had to be restrained. As Luo Yunchuan thought, his eyelids gradually closed. After an unknown amount of time, the sky began to lighten with a fish-belly white. Luo Yunchuan rubbed his eyes, put on his clothes, and got up. As soon as he opened the door, snow rushed in. He looked and saw that the snow outside had piled up to over a meter deep in the highest places. He didn't know how many adobe houses in the village had collapsed. Lu Yaodong took a deep breath, picked up the shovel inside, and began to clear the snow. The snow had stopped, and the entire Mozi village was a vast expanse of white, under the sunlight. It was so dazzling he could barely open his eyes. Just as Lu Yaodong finished clearing the snow around the house, someone arrived at the door. Dongji. Lu Yaodong looked and put down the shovel to open the door. Zhangwo, you're here so early. Have you eaten? Come in and have some porridge to warm up. No, Dongji, I'm here to give you something. Chen Zhangwo smiled and opened the cloth bag, revealing a large piece of fatty meat. Zhangwo, what are you doing? I can't take this. Lu Yaodong quickly pushed the meat back. Chen Zhangwo's family was very poor. His father had broken his leg while logging in the mountains last year, and his mother had eye problems and was half blind. Although his 2 older sisters were married off, he still had 3 younger sisters to support. Lu Yaodong had thought he had something to ask for help and was ready to go with him. But he didn't expect him to come bearing meat. Dongji, you have to take this. If it weren't for you, my whole family would have been buried in the house. Seeing him refuse, Chen Zhangwo became anxious and tried to shove the meat into his hands. Dongji, my family is poor, but my father taught me since I was young to repay kindness. If you don't accept it, I'll stand here and not leave. This, all right. Lu Yaodong said no more. Taking this piece of meat, if this brother ever needed anything in the future, he would never refuse. Hee, okay, I'll be off then. Chen Zhangwo laughed and was about to leave, but Lu Yaodong quickly grabbed him. Zhangwo, how did this pig die? Chen Zhangwo blurted out. Killed yesterday. Lu Yaodong said seriously. Zhangwo, remember this. The pig froze to death in the heavy snow, and then you ate the meat. It wasn't killed by your family. Chen Zhangwo was stunned for a moment, then quickly said, Right. It froze to death from the cold. Getting caught killing a pig privately was no joke. If they had to pay several times the fine, his family couldn't afford it. Remember, no matter who asks, say that. Dongji, don't worry, I'm tight-lipped. Lu Yaodong nodded upon hearing this. Although Chen Zhangwo was honest and simple, even a bit foolish, he had one advantage that no one else could match. He was very good at taking advice. Lu Yaodong was about to say more when he suddenly saw another person coming from behind. Chen Zhangwo followed his gaze and saw Lu Quan walking toward them. Dongji, I'll be off then. Okay, I'll come find you later and we'll have a chat. Sure. Chen Zhangwo turned and ran into Lu Quan after a few steps. Quanji, you're up early. Have you eaten? Lu Quan glanced sideways and couldn't be bothered to acknowledge such a fool. Without even opening his mouth, he gave a faint All right, I'm off then, Quanji. Chen Zhangwo wasn't annoyed either. He chuckled and left. Lu Quan kept exhaling white mist as he walked to Lu Yaodong's door. Just as he was about to speak, he saw that large piece of fatty meat weighing several jin. He almost drooled. Yo, Dongzi, where did you get this? Lu Yaodong asked indifferently. What brings you here so early? Dongzi, let's go inside and talk. It's freezing out here. Lu Quan said while stamping his feet and rubbing his face with his hands, then stepped forward to go in. But Lu Yaodong stood at the door without moving aside. Lu Quan bumped into him and stumbled back a few steps. Just say what you need to say. There's a wounded person at home. It's not convenient for you to come in. Huh. Lu Quan's head shot up, a surge of anger rising, turning his face red. In the north, hospitality was extremely generous. Even if you weren't familiar with the host, when you visited, they would still treat you well with good food and drink. Not to mention, he was Lu Yaodong's cousin. Even if their relationship was distant, they were still relatives. Now, on such a cold day, he wasn't even allowed in. This wasn't just impolite, it was treating him like nothing. Lu Yaodong, what do you mean? Lu Quan's shout drew the attention of everyone inside. Lu Yaodong lifted his eyelids slightly. Towards this cousin, he would treat him just like Chindayo. Everyone would go their separate ways from now on. Just as he was about to respond, Lu Ligan called out from inside. All right, let Quanzi in. Lu Yaodong said nothing and turned back into the house. He didn't care about such formalities, but Lu Quan was after all his father's nephew, and as an elder, he had to consider things a bit. Lu Quan shot a fierce glare at Lu Yaodong, and after entering the house, he called out, Uncle, somewhat nervously. Seeing the meat, he originally planned to use the same old routine. First, chat with Lu Yaodong, then at the right moment play the sympathy card, and finally say some nice words to flatter him. After this set of steps, Lu Yaodong would, for the sake of face and so-called brotherhood, cut him a large piece of fatty meat. But today, for some reason, Lu Yaodong seemed to have taken the wrong medicine. not even wanting to let him in. Lu Yaodong didn't care what he thought. He picked up the meat and handed it to Chen Xiaoyan. Sister-in-law, the kids haven't had meat in a long time, and my brother-in-law is still lying on the Kong. Make some today to nourish them. All right, Zhang Wo is really an honest man, giving such a big piece of meat. Since he's honest, our Lu family can't be lacking. I'll go over later and see if there's anything he needs help with. That's right. That's what a good man should say. Chen Xiaoyan happily took the meat to the stove. Lu Quan watched the pork that was almost in his mouth fly away, almost jumping up in anxiety. But now the person he had to deal with was Lu Ligan, and his childish tricks couldn't be used. He stood there like a stick, wanting to speak but unable to open his mouth, his face changing colors. Seeing this, Lu Ligan knew the guy was up to no good. Quanzi, just say what you need to say. Uncle, it's like this. You see, 2 rooms of my house collapsed, and my wife caught a cold. Lu Quan's house had 3 rooms, all built by his late father. If you could say his father was a real man, somehow he gave birth to such a son. Lazy to mention, stingy and fond of taking advantage. A classic case of a tiger father having a dog son. Lianzi, get a paracetamol and 6 gene of cornmeal. Lu Ligan waved his hand before he finished speaking. Chen Xiaoyan reluctantly got some cornmeal and handed it to him along with the medicine. Lu Quan's eyes unconsciously drifted to the meat. Cornmeal couldn't compare to the aroma of meat. What, too much? Fine, give some back. Lu Ligan glanced sideways. No. Uncle, I'll be going. Lu Quan quickly hugged the cornmeal and ran out. Dad, if you ask me, we shouldn't have given him a single hair. What a jerk. Chen Xiaoyan rolled her eyes at his back and placed the corn porridge and cornbread on the table. Lu Yaozu then came in with the 2 kids. All right, don't sweat the small stuff. Don't let big things get in the way. It's just a little something, let it go. After I kick the bucket, you don't have to bother with him. Lu Ligan waved his hand. He had a heart to help others and didn't care about a few trifles, but it also depended on who it was. Giving things to Lu Quan was entirely out of consideration for his deceased father. But this kind of old generation bond often doesn't pass down to the next generation. Especially when one side produces a descendant like Lu Quan, it basically means the relationship is about to end. Lu Ligan sighed at the thought. Lu Ermao, holding a half-eaten cornbread, pounced into his arms. Grandpa, you'll live long. You won't kick the bucket. Lu Ligan laughed heartily. Good. Grandpa won't kick the bucket. Grandpa wants to see Ermao grow up and get married. Grandpa, why are you talking about this in the morning? Lu Dia was unhappy hearing the word kick the bucket repeatedly. Hee, I won't say it. My granddaughter and grandson are the ones who care about me. Lu Ligan happily hugged them both, but his expression turned sour when he looked at Lu Yaodong. Lu Quan was indeed a bastard, but his own son wasn't much better before. Lu Quan constantly came over to take advantage and annoy people, and this kid was the root cause. Seeing his father's expression, Lu Yaodong asked, Dad, what's wrong with you now? You little brat, over 20 years old and still not as sensible as my grandchildren. You better remember to piss me off more in the future. Lu Yaodong looked dejected. I'm already trying to be a good person now. Over there, Lu Quan kept looking back after running out the gate, only starting to curse when he was sure his voice wouldn't be heard. Damn it, Lu Yaodong, you snob. Back then, you were always following me around begging me to take you along. Just because you studied a few days, you think you're something. And you, Lu Ligan, you call yourself my father's brother? Your family butchers pigs, and I can't even get a pig hair to eat. I think you're regressing. Lu Quan walked along cursing while carrying the cornmeal. Just then, the village loudspeaker suddenly sounded again. Attention everyone. Each household send someone to the team for a meeting. Repeat. Lu Yaodong suddenly remembered that after the snow disaster, the team leader had called out the same thing. But last time, his elder brother went, so he wasn't clear about what happened in the team. Brother, let me go to the meeting this time. All right, I was just thinking of digging up some roots for firewood. Lu Yaozu quickly downed his porridge. Lu Dia said, Dad, I'll go dig too. Granddaughter, it's so cold out there, what are you going for? Later, help your mom with the fire, we'll eat meat tonight. Lu Ligan quickly stopped her. Other people's kids were naughty, but his granddaughter was almost too sensible. Grandpa, we're eating meat today. Lu Ermao's eyes lit up. Yes, let your mom make it for you. Lu Ligan fondly patted his head. Go away. Lu Dia, shooed Ermao away. Grandpa, if we eat it now, what will we do for New Year? It's fine. This meat was given to thank your uncle. After it's gone, bring your brother to help me with the fire. Chen Xiaoyan said with a smile. Great. Lu Ermao cheered and made a face at his sister. Lu Dia pretended to hit him with her chopsticks, scaring the boy into jumping away. The two kids were used to roughhousing, so Lu Yaozu didn't interfere. Instead, he turned to Lu Yaodong with a puzzled look. Lu Yaodong recounted what had just happened to his brother. That guy is honest. Lu Yaozu sighed. After eating, Lu Yaozu stood up, shouldered his hoe, and left first. Lu Yaodong followed behind. Just then, Lu Ligan also stood up. Dad, what are you doing? Going to the meeting. Lu Ligan walked out with his pipe. Lu Yaodong looked at his father strangely. Ever since his health had declined, his elder brother had taken over many things. For meetings, unless the team leader personally invited him, he usually didn't go to the team anymore. Today, no one mentioned it. So why was he going on his own? Dad, the roads are buried in snow and hard to walk on, and it's freezing outside. Isn't it enough for me to go alone? If you want to know something, I'll tell you when I get home. Lu Ligan shot him a glance. Why are you so fussy? I'm old, not crippled. All right, let's go then. Hearing this, Lu Yaodong stopped trying to persuade him. The old man was stubborn. Once he decided something, no one could talk him out of it. But before they had taken 2 steps, Lu Ligan frowned. I overestimated myself. It really is cold. Fine snowflakes, carried by the wind, kept hitting people in the eyes, making it hard to keep them open. His legs sank into the snow as if falling into an ice cave, and the cold air rose uncontrollably. Dad, let me carry you. The brigade is still a ways off. Nonsense. I'm not some delicate woman for you to carry. If people see that, where will I put my old face? Then, how about I walk in front and you follow behind? Lu Yaodong said as he trudged forward. Originally, he walked by lifting his legs out of the snow and stepping forward. But now he moved as if sliding, shifting his feet little by little. In this way, his 2 feet pushed the snow forward, barely clearing 2 narrow paths. Lu Ligan didn't say a word and just followed behind him. As they neared the brigade, more and more people appeared on the road. Everyone kept their heads down and squinted. Those who could afford it wore hand mittens, while the poor tucked their hands into their sleeves. Lu Yaodong led his father forward. Thanks to his shout the day before, many villagers who heeded his advice had avoided losses. Those who had previously looked down on him now greeted him with smiles. Lu Yaodong responded to each one as they walked all the way to the brigade headquarters. Hey, Dongzi. Just as he was about to enter, he suddenly heard a familiar voice. Turning around, he saw Chun Dayo, but surprisingly, he wasn't lame. It seems many things have changed since I came back. As Lu Yaodong was thinking this, Lu Ligan walked around him and went ahead. I'll go in first. Okay. As soon as Lu Ligan left, Chun Dayo rushed up to him. Dongzi. Chun Dayo rubbed his hands together with a grin. Lu Yaodong asked indifferently, something wrong? It's like this. My grandpa broke his leg at home. You know my family is poor. We can't even afford to raise a pig. You slaughtered a pig yesterday. Can you give me some meat? I want to nourish my grandpa. Lu Yaodong sneered inwardly. The reason Chun Dayo's family was poor was that he and his father were lazy. When everyone else raised pigs, Chun Dayo and his father thought it was too unfair to give half the meat to the collective, so they voluntarily didn't raise any. As for taking meat back to nourish his grandpa, that was pure nonsense. Given their family's character, even if the meat was taken back, his grandpa wouldn't get to eat it. Not even a sip of soup would be his share. My family is also struggling. Right now, my brother-in-law is lying on the Kong at my place. I can't give you any meat. Lu Yaodong turned to leave, but Chun Dayo quickly blocked him, using the same tactic as Lu Quan, clinging to him, first playing the victim, then flattering him. And Lu Yaodong, just like before, either changed the subject or shook his head, refusing outright. After a standoff, Chun Dayo lost his temper. Dongzi, I'm not asking you to give it to me. Consider it a loan, okay? Do you even believe that? When have you ever returned anything you borrowed? Lu Yaodong chuckled, pushed aside the hand blocking him, and walked forward. Lu Yaodong, I tried being nice, but since you won't listen, don't blame me for getting tough. How did you slaughter that pig? Do you have a slaughter permit? Did you report it to the authorities? If you don't share the meat, I'll report you. Lu Yaodong's eyes turned cold, frightening Chun Dayo into stepping back 2 paces. His father had come down from the battlefield, and so had he. Moreover, in terms of time spent in the military and on the battlefield, he had far more than his father. When he really got angry, his aura was even more intimidating than Lu Ligan's. Chun Dayo, unnerved by his gaze, stammered, What? What do you think you're doing? This is the brigade headquarters. You wouldn't dare hit me. Lu Yaodong ignored him, casually patted him on the shoulder, and sent him sitting on the snowy ground. Think carefully about what you can and can't do. Don't end up hurting yourself. If you try to cause trouble, I won't let you off. Lu Yaodong lightly tossed out the words and walked into the house without looking back. By now, more and more people had gathered at the brigade headquarters. Chen Dao turned and saw everyone staring at him. His face flushed red, and he scrambled to his feet. "What are you looking at? Never seen someone fall." He turned and shouted. The crowd felt contempt but said nothing to invite trouble, pretending nothing had happened and dispersing. Seeing that no one paid him any attention, Chen Dao grew even angrier, glaring fiercely at Lu Yaodong's back. "Damn it, who do you think you're fooling? Just wait, I'll get you." As soon as Lu Yaodong entered the house, a wave of smoke hit his nose. Since there were many villagers, meetings were usually held outdoors, but because of the extreme cold, everyone had gathered in a larger room. At that time, there was no awareness of secondhand smoke hazards. Most men held tobacco pipes or rolled cigarettes, chatting together, their words revealing worries about the winter. The smoke they exhaled mingled into thick clouds floating on the beams. The women talked about others' misfortunes, their own hardships, or trivial matters like in-law quarrels. The room was filled with men, women, old, and young, the noise making Lu Yaodong's head spin. As he pushed forward a few steps, his worn cotton coat gained several holes burned by cigarette butts. "Forget it. If I go any further, this coat will be ruined." Lu Yaodong brushed off the ash and stood behind his father. Just then, Brigade Leader Li Taizhu pushed open the door, and upon seeing him and Lu Ligan, insisted on pulling them to the front. "Old Jin, Dongzi, today's meeting involves you too. You can't just stay in the back." Lu Yaodong couldn't refuse and had to follow. When they reached the front podium, he noticed several educated youths standing nearby. Given the current time, the first batch of educated youths had already returned to the city. Those still here were either unlucky or had poor family backgrounds. Lu Yaodong looked at them one by one, his gaze settling on a woman. Her beautiful face was sallow and thin from long-term malnutrition, and her long hair hung loose on her shoulders. Her frail body was clad in a loose, worn army green cotton coat, and her lower half was in a patched, bulky cotton-padded trousers. She stood silently apart from the others, alone in the corner of the platform. No one paid her any attention. Even the educated youths with poor backgrounds kept their distance. The moment Lu Yaodong saw her, he remembered who she was. This woman was named Li Wanqing, an educated youth from the capital. As for her identity and family background, no one in Mozi village knew. The only thing known was that the person who brought her here said to give her special care. In his previous life, Lu Yaodong had a brief relationship with her before the exams, but it only went as far as holding hands. Later, after a series of events, Lu Yaodong ignored her advice, and she became disappointed, so they drifted apart. Previously, his elder brother had attended the meetings, so he didn't know what would happen at this one. He only remembered seeing Li Wanqing after the snow disaster, but at that time, she was even thinner than now. Decades had passed, and Lu Yaodong thought he had forgotten her, but he was surprised to recall her appearance at first glance. No wonder later generations talk about first love. The impact is truly extraordinary. Lu Yaodong sighed inwardly. If he tried to remember his past girlfriends now, he could at most recall their names, not their faces. But for Li Wanqing, a woman he had only held hands with once, his memory was so vivid. Even he found it incredible. As he was lost in thought, Li Taizhu clapped his hands and stepped onto the podium. "All right, everyone quiet down." Seeing that the noise had subsided, Li Taizhu cleared his throat. "You all know the situation now, so I won't waste words. There are a few things to discuss. First, the educated youth dormitory has collapsed. Now, there aren't enough houses in the village. There are still many wounded staying at the brigade headquarters, and the remaining educated youths really have nowhere to be placed. Can those with better family conditions take care of them first?" As soon as these words were spoken, the room that had just quieted down began to buzz again. "The brigade leader says it's so easily. Whose family is having an easy time now, letting an outsider move in, eating and living for free? That's nonsense. My own grain isn't even enough to eat. Exactly, my mother is bedridden, and one room of my house collapsed, but the brigade hasn't given me any compensation. Whoever wants to take care of them can do it. I won't." Li Taizhu banged the table. All right. He shouted several times before finally suppressing the crowd's noise. "I'm not asking you to take care of them for nothing. I can apply for subsidies." No one responded to his words. Whether the subsidies would come through was one thing, and even if they did, how much would they be? Life was already tight enough. How could they afford an extra person to eat and heat the Kong? Li Taizhu pondered for a long time. Everyone's life is hard now. It's really unrealistic to ask them to take care of others. But we still have to settle these people. We can't let them freeze to death in the snow and ice. How about this? I'll take the lead and take care of 2 first. The rest of you squad leaders will divide them up. Li Taizhu thought over everyone he could think of. This matter could only be led by the cadres. They usually lived a bit more comfortably than the villagers. If they didn't step up when trouble came, then what kind of cadres were they? The over 100 households in Mozi village were divided into 4 squads. If each squad leader took 1 educated youth, the rest would be easier to handle. As he spoke, he walked to the front and selected 2 male educated youths, telling them to stay at his place first. Then he turned to look at the crowd below. Lu Yaodong looked up, and almost everyone had lowered their heads or looked elsewhere. But the more they did that, the angrier Li Taizhu became. Damn it, if the villagers really have difficulties, that's one thing. But you squad leaders don't want to take responsibility. The more you don't want to, the more I'll go against your wishes. Chen Monsong, you're a squad leader. Pick one and have them stay at your house. Li Taizhu banged the table and pointed at Chun Daio's uncle, shouting, Brigade leader, my family has difficulties too. Chen Monsong was 100% unwilling. Letting someone into his home to eat and drink for free. That was ridiculous. You have difficulties, my ass. Your house was newly built last year. Don't try to fool me. Hurry up. Chen Monsong's face turned as ugly as if he had swallowed a few flies. He looked left and right, then let a strong male, educated youth go to his house. This time he couldn't avoid it, so he might as well pick a physically fit one who could at least help with work. The other squad leaders were also called out one by Li Taizhu, and reluctantly took people into their homes. That leaves 3 female comrades. Women's director, don't you have anything to say? Li Taizhu looked at the women's director Chen Yuji beside him. By seniority, Chen Daio had to call her aunt. Chen Yuji turned and said something to 2 female educated youths, who then left gratefully, leaving Li Wanqing aside. Well, Yuji, there's still one more person. If you think it's too much to take care of 3 at home, I'll provide the grain for this one, and she can stay at your place, okay? Chen Yuji shook her head. Brigade leader, you know that's not what I mean. Li Taizhu was in a bind. Of course he knew she was referring to Li Wanqing's problematic background. But taking a female educated youth home himself wasn't realistic. He had 2 unmarried sons. If he brought her home, how could she live afterward? Her reputation would be ruined. Li Wanqing bit her lip tightly, her hands clenched in her pockets. She knew everyone despised her. If no one would help, so be it. She was used to it. Just then, Lu Yaodong raised his hand and stepped forward. There are a few female members in my family. If needed, they can come to my place. Lu Yaodong thought it over. Although the 2 of them hadn't started anything yet, and decades had passed, diluting the feelings, in this difficult time, if he had the ability, he might as well lend a hand. After all, this snow would pass in 2 days, and the mountain roads would be cleared soon. It was only a matter of 10 odd days. Even if his family was tight now, with him around, there was nothing to worry about. Lu Ligan was smoking silently beside him. Everyone turned to look at him. Li Wanqing looked up at him in surprise. In all of Mozi village, apart from brigade leader Li Taizhu, he was the only one willing to help her voluntarily. Li Taizhu walked over and shook his hand. Dongzi, I thank you on her behalf. If you have any difficulties, just say the word. My family has enough grain. Brigade leader, you're too kind. Li Taizhu smiled and patted his shoulder, then walked over to Li Wanqing. Girl, later you'll go with the Lu boy. Don't worry, you won't be mistreated. If anything comes up, you can come to the brigade headquarters and tell me. Thank you, brigade leader. Li Wanqing thanked him gratefully. Since coming to Mozi village, her life had been the hardest among all the educated youths. If not for this kind brigade leader, she might have died in Mozi village long ago. No need to thank me. You should thank Dongzi. Li Taizhu pointed at Lu Yaodong. Li Wanqing looked at Lu Yaodong and nodded gratefully. Thank you. Lu Yaodong didn't say anything, not knowing what to say, so he just nodded in return. Seeing that this matter was resolved, Li Taizhu was about to move on when an untimely voice rang out in the room. Who knows what Lu Yaodong is up to? Maybe he thinks she's pretty and wants to take her home to fool around with the girl. Someone immediately chimed in. Haha, you never know, it's possible. If the rice is cooked, she'd have no choice but to agree. This girl may have a bad background, but she's really pretty. Actually, that works. Dongzi is a bit of a rascal, and an intellectual too. Pairing him with someone with a bad background is just right. Li Wanqing had never been subjected to such jokes, and her face turned red with anger. Chen Zhangwo gently pushed Chen Daio. Brother, how can you say that about Brother Dong? I think Brother Dong is a good person. If it weren't for him, my family would have been done for yesterday. Chen Daio was displeased. and pushed Chen Jiangwo back a few steps. Good my ass. Everyone in the village knows what Lu Yaodong is. Hearing this, those whose homes hadn't been damaged yesterday were unhappy. Regardless of what Lu Yaodong was like before, at least our families have received his kindness. We have to speak up for him, especially since there were only 3 surnames in Mozi village. Lu, Chun, and Li. The Lu family's bones were connected even if broken. How could they not support their own? Dongzi may have been a scoundrel before, but now he's saved everyone's lives. Exactly. Maybe some people whose houses collapsed because they didn't listen to advice can't stand seeing others do well, so they jump out to ruin reputations. These words infuriated those whose homes had been damaged, and the room erupted into a heated argument. What I said is the truth. If Lu Yaodong didn't think the girl was pretty, why would he be willing to help her? You have 3 bachelor sons at home, always drooling over young girls and married women with your lecherous face. Why don't your sons help? The man being scolded turned red up to his ears. You're full of shit. Lu Quan hid in the back, watching the show with interest. As long as someone cursed Lu Yaodong, he would chime in. But he wasn't as stupid as Chen Dayo. He remembered the principle that the bird that sticks its neck out gets shot. Seeing the situation escalating, almost to the point of a fight, Li Taizhu banged the table loudly. Enough. Stop arguing. Li Taizhu, as brigade leader, was usually fair and had considerable authority in the village. As soon as he spoke, everyone gradually quieted down. This is a meeting. What are you doing? A few words and you start arguing. What? Do you all want to fly to the sky? Li Taizhu shouted a few times, and the room fell silent. At that moment, Lu Yaodong walked up unhurriedly. Chen Dayo, was it you who said fool around? Yeah, so what? Lu Yaodong raised his hand and slapped him across the face. The slap was extremely crisp, almost reaching everyone's ears. How can you hit someone in front of the brigade leader? Since when did Dongzi become so tough? I say it was a good slap. Damn it, a dog's mouth can't spit out ivory. There was a stir in the room, and everyone's eyes turned to the 2 of them. Chen Dayo was knocked back by the slap, fell to the ground, and felt dizzy. He looked back and saw dozens of eyes in the room, all staring at him. Being slapped to the ground in front of the whole village's men and women, with the village women's gossip, this matter would probably be talked about until death. Thinking of this, his face immediately turned redder than a monkey's butt, and his fists clenched with a cracking sound. Lu Yaodong, how dare you hit me? Lu Yaodong looked at him indifferently. If you can't control your mouth, I'll hit you. What can you do about it? Chen Dayo scrambled to his feet and wanted to fight, but thinking of Lu Yaodong's strength, he knew he was no match. He stood there, not knowing whether to fight or leave. Chen Monsong saw his nephew get hit and rushed over. Lu Yaodong, you little bastard, how dare you hit someone in front of me? Do you even know who you are? I'll teach you a lesson today. Monsong, you've grown capable. Since when do you get to teach my son a lesson? Lu Ligan tapped the ash off his pipe, tucked the pipe behind him, lifted his eyelids, and stared at him. Chen Monsong said nothing. Lu Ligan was not someone he could handle. Fighting in the wild, hunting bears in the mountains. Taking on a wolf pack alone with just a shotgun and a broken knife. That wasn't just talk. Not to mention Lu Ligan had many comrades in the county and city. All life-and-death brothers who crawled out of the same trench. Tough guys who would take a bullet for each other. How could Chen Monsong, a production team leader, compete with that? If this matter went further, no one in the Chen family would dare help him. Chen Monsong thought it over and took a step back. Adults handle adult matters. Kids handle kid stuff. No matter how tough you are, Lu Ligan, you wouldn't stoop to arguing with a younger generation like Chen Dayo, right? Chen Dayo saw his uncle back down and thought, trouble. But now everyone was watching. And since the matter had been stirred up, he couldn't run. If he didn't make a clear case today, his face would be shattered into pieces. Lu Yaodong, how dare you hit me? I'll report you. Even Chen Monsong blushed at these words. Damn, a 3-year-old kid would think to fight back after being hit. But a grown man like you, after getting slapped, comes out with such a fart. Lu Yaodong laughed scornfully. You ruined my reputation and ruined the young girl's reputation too. Report me? I'll report you first. He then asked Chen Yuji, women's director. He, Chen Dayo, made dirty jokes about women. Aren't you going to do something? Chen Yuji was so angry she wanted to slap Chen Dayo. Idiot. Why did you have to joke about the female-educated youth? That dog's mouth just blurted out slippery, and now he's caught with no way to refute. In this era, women value their chastity and reputation more than life. Spreading dirty rumors is no joke. If Lu Yaodong and Li Wanqing really pressed this matter up the chain, the consequences would be severe. What, Director Chen? You're not going to avoid it just because he's your relative, are you? Chun Yuji cursed inwardly. Bastard, trying to provoke her, but she smiled on the surface and said, Dongzi, you can't say that. Of course I'll handle it. But this is a women's matter. I need to ask Wanqing's opinion. Chun Yuji looked at Li Wanqing and said with a fake smile, Wanqing, how do you want to handle this? Just as Li Wanqing was about to speak, she interrupted. Wanqing, we're all in the same village. We see each other every day. Dayo just slipped up. Whether it's the same village or not has nothing to do with it. Girl, speak your mind. Lu Ligan walked over, pulled Chun Yuji's chair away, and sat down. Yuji, since we're in the same village, why didn't you help her earlier? Be fair. Chun Yuji fell silent like Chen Monsong. Lu Ligan's meaning was clear. Let the young people handle their own affairs. If you old folks want to intervene, you must be fair. If you play favorites, I won't indulge you. Chun Yuji quickly looked at Li Taizhu. But Li Taizhu wasn't stupid. Your Chen family stirred up trouble at the meeting, and now that you can't win, you want me to speak? I'm not crazy enough to bring fire upon myself. I'll say nothing. Li Wanqing's fingers turned white as she looked at Lu Yaodong. Lu Yaodong grabbed Chen Dayo and pulled him over. It's fine. Handle it as it should be. Li Wanqing pointed at Chen Dayo. I want him to slap himself 3 times and apologize to me. Otherwise, even if I have to go to the county, I won't let it go. Chen Dayo panicked and shouted at the two. Uncle, Aunt, you can't do this. Chen Monsong covered his face. Today, the Chen family's face has been completely ruined by this fool. Chen Yuji sighed twice and smiled apologetically at Lu Ligan. Old Jen, Dayo is still young. He doesn't watch his mouth. Look at this. I'm old and can't see clearly. Lu Ligan ignored her completely. Your Chen family people are cursing my son. What's the point of saying these things? Lu Yaodong asked Chen Dayo. So, if you can't do it yourself, I'll help you. Chen Dayo's eyes bulged wide. He looked at everyone, and everyone was staring at him intently. Those dozens of eyes were like dozens of steel needles piercing his heart, and his eyes instantly turned red. When had Chen Dayo ever been so humiliated or suffered such treatment? At that moment, Li Wanqing shouted, Are you going to do it or not? Dongzi, for the sake of our past friendship, let me off. Chen Dayo pleaded through gritted teeth. Lu Yaodong's eyes were full of indifference. When you started trouble, why didn't you think about your arrogant attitude? Li Wanqing already had a bad family background. If her reputation was ruined too, she wouldn't survive in Mosey Village until she returned to the city. Didn't I tell you, if you dared to cause trouble, I wouldn't let you off? Chen Dayo's heart sank upon hearing this. Fine, I'll do it, I'll do it. Chen Dayo roared like a madman, raised his hand, and slapped himself 3 times. Lu Yaodong, I'll remember this for the rest of my life. Are you satisfied now? Lu Yaodong said, You still owe an apology. Fine, I'm sorry. Is that enough? Li Wanqing snorted and said nothing more. Li Taizhu had been standing by, observing with a detached expression for a long time. Seeing the matter resolved, he wanted to let them go. All right, let's move to the second matter. Wait, Chen Dayo shouted, interrupting him. Li Taizhu frowned. What else do you want to say? Chen Dayo stared at Lu Yaodong, pointing at him. I want to report. Lu Yaodong slaughtered a pig privately, violating regulations. He has to pay a fine. Lu Yaodong looked calmly at Chen Dayo. He knew this man was finished. By now, almost everyone in the village who raised pigs had probably slaughtered them. Given this weather, if they didn't slaughter, the pigs would freeze to death or lose weight. Pig farmers couldn't bear such losses. It was a necessary move for survival, an unspoken understanding. As long as no one spoke up, the pigs were said to have frozen to death or been crushed. If someone really reported it and brought in investigators, Lu Yaodong would be fine, because he had already reported the slaughter to Li Taizhu beforehand. But those who slaughtered pigs secretly would be in trouble. Chen Dayo's shout had harmed the entire village. Lu Yaodong glanced around and saw that the atmosphere in the room had indeed changed. Everyone was silent, with stern faces, staring at Chen Dayo with wide eyes. Even Chen Monsong and Chen Yuji were no exception. Lu Yaodong coughed twice. I reported the slaughter to the team leader before doing it. He knows about it. Chen Dayo looked at Li Taizhu. Li Taizhu nodded. That's true. Chen Dayo was now blinded by anger, only wanting to destroy Lu Yaodong. Even if he reported it, can the team leader handle this? This matter needs to be reported to the commune for handling. Where's the slaughter permit? Do you have one? This statement had already hinted at dragging Li Taizhu down with him, but Chen Dayo, not knowing when to stop, dared to continue. Captain, you can't cover for them just because you're close to the Lu family, can you? Li Taizhu's face turned ashen, his eyes bulging like an ox's. Fine. You bastard, you want to mess with me too? Luo Yunchuan was speechless, not content with offending everyone. Now he was even slandering the brigade captain. He was about to say a few more words, but now it was done. This guy had dug his own grave. As soon as this thought crossed Luo Yunchuan's mind, sure enough, someone couldn't sit still. The first to move was Chen Monsong, who had earlier said he would teach him a lesson. You dare say another word? Chen Monsong nearly jumped up after hearing that. Chen Daiyou was always a scoundrel, and now that he was angry, he didn't care if you were his uncle or grandfather. He tilted his head and started shouting. What if I say it 10 times? The brigade captain isn't covering. Before he could finish, Chen Monsong didn't even dare to listen, quickly covering his mouth and dragging him back. As he moved, the others followed. People from the Lu, Li, and Chen families all crowded around Chen Daiyou. Soon, screams began to echo in the room. With so many people, Luo Yunchuan couldn't see who kicked first. But once there was a first kick, there was a second, and then countless kicks.